This is the Barry Richards Show. WBSM On Demand.
Without further ado,
WBSM presents The Barry Richards Show. Streaming live on WBSM.com and the WBSM app. Call 508-996-0500. Text us using App Chat on the WBSM app. Now, The Barry Richards Show.
start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York.
All right, welcome to the program. Hour number 2, 108 on a Wednesday afternoon. 508-996-0500 is our phone number. Yeah, the whole world seems to be in New York right now. Everybody's watching New York between the what are now being referred to as pro-Palestinian encampments as opposed to anti-Israel rallies. And, of course, we are anticipating momentarily a decision or an announcement from the court as to whether or not Donald Trump is going to go to jail or maybe be forced to pay some fines for alleged violations of the gag order against him, helping us analyze all of this craziness that's happening in our universe. The executive producer of the Harry Carr Show, Taylor Cormier, is with us on the line. Taylor, how are you?
I'm doing well, Barry. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know, we haven't had an update on your chickens in a while. How are things going with the chickens? And I want to know because people, I think, are looking for some relief from all of this crazy stuff that's on their minds and on their plates right now. So how are the chickens?
The chickens are good, and we've got another 6 chickens on the way. So we're going to have a total of 13 soon.
No kidding. Wow.
A lot of chickens. So if ever you need eggs, Barry, let me know.
So are these like tax write-offs or you got
No. This is like owning a boat. You keep throwing money at the coop, throw money at the chickens, and very little payoff. But keeps the wife and kids happy.
So in the People's Republic of Massachusetts, under the stewardship of Comrade Maura Healey, they're not tax liabilities yet. Anyway, she probably doesn't know about them, but she will.
No, these aren't Ford F-150 chickens.
Yeah. So are you going to have to start making room in your shelter, in your chicken coop, or as a shelter? You got to have illegal chickens in there too, or?
They're called undocumented chickens.
Undocumented chickens. Yes. There you go. All right. We got to talk about it. There's so much going on. The anti-Israel protests are now being referred to in the press as pro-Palestinian encampments, spreading all over the country today. I guess we've got a few things going on up in Boston. When is Biden actually going to come out and address this? I know yesterday he did the, good people on both sides kind of thing, trying to kiss ass on both sides of this issue. But at some point, the president of the United States and the leader of the free world has to come out and say something, really definitive on this and show some on this issue.
I don't know that he can. I mean, he needs the support of these young college students, and he's been trying to buy their votes by saying he's going to pay off their student loans. And if he pisses them off, I mean, he risks losing their vote. So I think he's really trying to thread the needle here, especially with those comments that we heard earlier this week where he said, it was basically the very fine people on both sides that, he supports Israel and those that support Israel, but he also wants people to understand what the Palestinians are going through. It's bewildering that somebody would say and try to play both sides so blatantly like that. It's silly that anybody really bought that. I'm not sure that they did. I don't think they did. And what's funny is now the press, as you said, they're calling these pro-Palestinian encampments. Why don't we call them what they are and what they say themselves they are? They're pro-Hamas. They there's tape of them saying, "We are Hamas. We are all Hamas," yelling at Jews that are walking down the streets in New York City, saying that we are Hamas, calling them pigs and just all kinds of disgusting
throwing
things.
Bottles at the police in New York the other night. Yeah,
these are pro-terrorist groups, and I don't know that they should be rounded up and arrested for hate crimes, and they should have any scholarships or any kind of student aid that is being sent their way immediately rescinded. That's not what America's about.
And their visas
not what America's supposed
stripped
to be about.
from them. Yeah, and then back on a plane back home to where they came from. I want to just go back to Biden's statement for a second because I thought it was interesting. I don't have it in front of me, and I wish it did, but he actually used the word condemn, where he condemns anti-Semitism, but he also condemns those who are not willing to, understand the plight of the Palestinians. Condemn is a strong word, and so. If you, I guess, are taking a position, as am I, and you probably, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if you are taking a position that there is no argument in defense of people who carry out the heinous terrorist activity that we witnessed on October 7th, rape, murder, beheadings, all of that kind of stuff, if you take the position that there is no condoning that, then Biden is condemning you for not taking the side or for not understanding the side, because to me, there is no argument there. You can't make an argument that is going to appease me. So I condemn that. So Biden is condemning you and me for the position that we have that's not just pro-Israeli, but it's anti-terrorism.
Well, to me, what he said is he's basically making excuses for what happened on October 7th and, what's happened in the past and anything subsequent to October 7th, is that to understand the plight of the Palestinian people, the conditions they've been living under, and the years that it's taken to brew all of this up and the hatred that's been boiling up inside of them, and understand why they're angry towards Israel and why they believe what they believe and why they support what they support and why they tolerate Hamas and their way of living at this point. And they've just become very apathetic to it or have gotten very involved in that cause. And Joe Biden is telling you, you've got to understand their side of it. And to understand their side of it is to somewhat excuse the behavior and the atrocities that they've committed against Jewish people, not just in Israel, but here at home, across the globe.
Yeah.
Any hatred doesn't have to be bloodshed, just outright hatred because of the beliefs of one region of the world. It's disgusting that a free country and the leader of that free country would want you to be sympathetic to that quote unquote plight.
Yeah. Interesting. Just saw a flash on TV a couple of minutes ago where the New York police apparently say that they are now investigating who is behind these pro-Palestinian encampments that are happening in New York. When just last night on NBC News, you had the FBI director, Christopher Wray, stating that the FBI is not monitoring the protests on college campuses because they, quote, don't monitor protests. So New York police are having to look into, this situation and kind of, peel away the layers of this onion to see who's actually behind all of this. And Christopher Wray says, we don't monitor protests. So we're not doing. You know what I mean? I do it.
This is so silly. I mean, there's video, I'm sure you've seen it, Barry, of the FBI showing up to people's doors because they've said something derogatory on a YouTube video or on Twitter or on Reddit about Joe Biden, about anybody in his administration. And they may have been incendiary comments, but they weren't threats by any legal status. But the FBI will show up at their door and knock and say, "Hey, I just got a list of things here on your Twitter feed that we'd like to ask you about." And the people tell them, "Get the hell out of here! What are you doing? This is Gestapo tactics. This is nonsense." Yet you have video of people actually hurling insults, hateful rhetoric, and even physical objects at Jews, at police, and they're allowed to just occupy the streets. They're allowed to occupy whatever territory they want because free speech. So it's where's the line drawn? And I can tell you exactly where it's drawn. It's if you've ever worn a red hat or not, and that's what it comes down to. Are you a vitriolic, Trump-loving son of a bitch, or are you some sort of quote unquote pacifist for Palestine? But really, you're a Jew hater, and you're this rabid spreader of hate. And but in the FBI's eyes, And in Joe Biden's eyes, you are what America is all about.
Yeah.
It's so, I mean...
Well, this is the same FBI that was...
almost every week. It's disgusting that we have to.
Sure. This is the same FBI that was following and monitoring parents down at school committee meetings in Virginia, calling them domestic terrorists. But they're not watching to see who's behind these...
Right. For signing up for a due process and putting their name on a ledger with their address and speaking out against their woke local policies, and that's where democracy starts on the local level. They're using their speech, their free speech, and they're following the process, and they're marked as domestic terrorists. There's memos pertaining to that, and it's all legit. The only thing that's not legit is the FBI. It's disgusting how partisan. Even with Christopher Wray, an alleged conservative at the helm. It's so unnerving, the levels that we're being monitored and what they're doing with that information, depending on who it is.
Fox was reporting earlier, they seem to be backing away on their coverage of it. I don't know whether because something has changed or what, but they were reporting earlier that a decision was imminent in New York on the Trump gag order, that the judge was due almost any moment to issue a decision on whether or not Trump violated the gag order. The head chipmunk there, Alvin Bragg, was looking for, $1,000 per violation. I think he pointed out 10 violations yesterday. And there's some concern that Trump could actually be placed in jail. He reportedly made some comments earlier this week or last week that he would only be too happy to be the martyr and be the Nelson Mandela and go to the clink if that's what he needed to do to prove his case here. And so the Fox was also reporting that the Secret Service is preparing for the possibility that Trump could actually be put in a jail cell today. So what's your thoughts on all that? Again, it does seem as though Fox has walked it. I don't know if they've walked it back because I can't hear them, but they were doing wall-to-wall on it, and all of a sudden they're not anymore. So I don't know if the moment's passed or they had some bad information. But a decision is coming, whether it be this afternoon or tomorrow or whatnot. What's your thoughts on all that?
I haven't really been following this case too closely, and the gag order stuff to me, kind of gets in the minutiae of it. But it is again unnerving that they'll try absolutely anything to put this guy away and make him a martyr. And I don't, they think they're following the letter of the law, and they're being sticklers for a purpose here, and they're putting these gag orders on him so that he doesn't influence anybody. Which, in this point in time, you're influencing people just by putting them on trial. This whole thing is silly.
What happens if they put him in jail today? What do you think happens? I mean,
the same thing that happened when he got a mugshot down in Georgia. The same exact thing.
Yeah.
You're going to make this guy more likable, more popular, and this time in New York City. This isn't the South anymore. You're in New York City. You're in a Democrat stronghold that is already very compromised because of the extreme liberal policies that have been put in place, or rather, the policies that have been ignored, the laws and the policies that have been ignored by the liberals in New York City. People are already at their wits' end with their local and state lawmakers. They see them putting Trump in jail one more time. That's a last straw for a lot of people. I've seen countless interviews of people in urban areas, or just people that have voted Democrat traditionally in the past just because that's what their parents did, saying it's ridiculous what they're putting this guy through. I've got no choice but to vote for him because it seems that he's under attack and he's onto something here, and he's being persecuted for what? Because he wants to make a secure border. He wants to see the best for the American people. I mean, there's nothing that you can say that justifies what Trump's being prosecuted for, especially this time around. This is
persecuted.
The most...
I think I just heard you use the terminology match drop, right? Did I hear that correctly?
I'm not sure. Match drop? No, I don't think so.
Oh boy, but I'll tell you what, you should have, because that was great. Say you did. Say yes, I did say that.
Okay, yeah, that was me. I'll make
match drop, as in everything is so Tinder right now that strike a match and drop it, and poof, the whole thing goes up. That's what I thought I heard you say. So you said it. But that's my concern here. That if they were to lead Trump out of there, it's one thing to take a mugshot. It's another thing to see an image on television of Trump being put in handcuffs and being so I could just picture Trump standing in the window of the jail, looking out at the crowds down below. I think this would be a match drop moment. I think this is when you would see the MAGA people pushed over the edge, and you would see something as a result. And I asked the caller in the last hour if he thought there has been a call from Eric Adams' office this week saying, to this judge, look, Judgy Wedgie, we've got New York University, we've got Columbia, we've got this homeless crisis, we've got a lot of crap on our plate right now. Please don't put this guy in jail. And I got to wonder if that's a concern of Eric Adams, that he could have another front erupting in New York should something like that happen.
I'm not sure how much control the mayor can have over a judge, especially on something so fickle as optics. I mean, we've passed the line with optics at this point, and so many points before this, where the judges they don't care about that. They just look at Judge Engoron in his most recent trial, Trump's most recent trial they completed. He didn't care about optics. In fact, he cozied up to the camera every chance that he could.
Right.
The judges don't care about that. To them, it's their time to shine. They're looking to keep this in the headlines as much as they can. Because everyone thinks that this is their moment. Oh, the last guy couldn't do it. I'm going to put him away. And it always fails, and it will continue to fail, and it's going to continue to backfire. The more, and we say this over and over and over again, the more you persecute and prosecute Donald Trump, the more likable and electable he becomes.
Absolutely. One more, and then I'll let you get to work. It's a busy news day here, and I know you got a lot of stuff to do. But have you guys been talking much about the Tibbetts nuts remarks about tolls at the borders? I know Chris Sununu's reacted in New Hampshire. The legislature's reacted in Rhode Island, essentially saying don't do it because we will counter with tolls of our own, or some kind of a reaction to it. Maura Healey's been on the defense now for a few days. So she was on National Public Radio yesterday saying, I am not going to put tolls on the roadways. But she's standing by Tibbetts nuts and hasn't fired her, hasn't dismissed her. She's standing by her. So I'm kind of wondering, what your thoughts are on all of that and where we're going with this.
It's very, very bizarre, her comments. She has no idea how to manage public policy. She has no idea what kind of position she stepped into and what power she does or does not have. She's proposing taxes on people just based on the model vehicle that they're driving and what it consumes and how many all kinds of wacky liberal stuff that has been proposed in part before. I remember there was somebody was toying with a mileage tax a few years ago. I don't think that ever came to fruition, but it was there was a trial balloon set up and people hated the idea. It's these policies that are being proposed by power-hungry people that have no idea what the public appetite is and the feasibility of how do you implement anything like that?
It doesn't matter what public appetite is. I mean, it's they know better than us. So and you know what? So Karen Spilka came out yesterday, immediately defended it. She's like, "Oh yeah, I'm all for tolls. I'm all for it. I've been proposing this for years." So if you got Tibbetts nuts on one side and you got Karen Spilka on the other side, Maura Healey saying, "Wait a minute, slow down here. I didn't say this, but I'm going to keep my secretary on the job." You know damn well Maura Healey supports it as well, and this is something that's been discussed behind closed doors, and Tibbetts nuts just let the cat out of the bag a little bit too soon.
Well, how about this? How about with every road infrastructure project that we undertake as any community in the Commonwealth here? let's stop adding these stupid bike lanes and stop adding these stupid bus lanes. Because what we're doing, we're widening these streets, but we're actually narrowing them because we're adding these other lanes that are exclusively for only certain modes of transportation. And then we're relegated and squished into one lane. It constricts everything much more. That's just one thought. There's so many other things, like they always want to add these electric vehicle charging stations, which never work. They want to add new parking meters, which are always out of service because they can't connect to the internet, or the card reader's not working. All of this crap that requires constant maintenance. I never heard anybody complain that their quarters weren't being taken at one of these old-fashioned meters. I never had a problem with those. I still keep changing my car. I don't know why anymore, because there's nobody takes quarters anymore. But there are so many of these fatty pieces that are being put onto these projects that aren't necessary. And if you let those out, if you trim the fat, you wouldn't need to up taxes anymore.
Taylor Cormier, executive producer of the Howie Carr Show. What's coming up this afternoon on the program right here on WBSM?
A lot of the same we just talked about. We're going to talk a little bit more about the NYU and Columbia situations. We've got Adam Gillette coming on. He's the one that he had the doxing truck at Harvard earlier this year, or late last year, rather. And he's been down over at these campuses as well, putting some of these students on blast for what they've said, their beliefs, their very, very insidious comments. So he's always a great guy to have on, and we're going to talk about the Trump trial as well.
All right, Taylor Cormier, appreciate it, my friend. Every Wednesday afternoon, right after the 1 o'clock news. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Barry.
All right, we'll do it again next week. 508-996-0500. Let me do the break, and you guys are chomping at the bit, so we'll get your calls on next on WB.
Gonna sit down in the kitchen and fix me something good to eat and make my head a little high, make the whole day complete. 'Cause we're gonna lay around the shanty, mama, and put a good buzz on.
All right, welcome back into the program. The sun is out. We had a shower. The shower went away. The sun is out right now, and it is 32 minutes after 1 o'clock. It is a Wednesday afternoon. Appreciate you, and appreciate you being with us. And got a whole lot of things going on here. I don't even know where to turn at this point. It got so much happening. The Senate, by the way, has approved, and Joe Biden has today signed into law a $95 billion war aid bill that includes aid for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. That also includes a provision that would force social media site TikTok to be sold or banned in the U.S. It's amazing. Got all that in this bill, but no money for the border, right? President Joe Biden has signed this morning into law a $95 billion war aid measure that includes aid for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. That also includes a provision that would force social media site TikTok to be sold or banned in the U.S. The Senate voted 79-18 to approve the foreign aid package, sending it up to Biden's desk. Again, Biden signing it this morning. Foreign aid package primarily consists of $61 billion in aid for Ukraine, roughly $26 billion in military aid for Israel, $9 billion for humanitarian efforts in Gaza, and about $8 billion in foreign aid for Taiwan. And again, efforts to ban TikTok in the U.S. Senator Mike Lee, Republican from Utah, was on the Breitbart News Daily last night. Said the U.S. should not spend another dime on the war in Ukraine. I'm not a fan of Putin. I would love for Ukraine to win this war. The problem is we've already spent $113 billion on this war, the senator said, reminding listeners that it is, quote, not our war to begin with. But that's more than any other country on earth. In fact, it's more than every other country on the planet Earth combined has spent. These guys are on a different continent. This is not our backyard. Lee explained that the United States should not spend any more money on the war, especially given the crisis on our own southern border. I don't think we ought to be spending another dime on this war, especially considering that we have an invasion going on in our own country across the southern border, adding that there is nothing in the Ukraine bill that fixes that issue. Moreover, we've got countries in Europe who haven't done their fair share, he said. We've been paying Europe's security bill, or a significant part of it, for decades, thus facilitating their march toward European-style socialism, because we're providing a significant part of their security umbrella, which they are not adequately sharing. Lee said it is laughable for these countries to preach to us and tell us that we've got to spend even more until they have matched and substantially exceeded what we have spent. I don't think we ought to be doing this. I don't think any sane country in our position would do this, and yet we're doing it, unflinchingly, cheered on by the media and by the political establishment of both parties, and I think it's disgraceful. Lee continued. 508-996-0500. You're up next on WBSM. Thanks for hanging on.
Hi, Barry.
Hi.
Hey, why don't we send this Biden over there to, what was it, Indonesia? On a vacation?
He's in Florida right now.
No, where the cannibals ate his uncle there. What was it? Was that Indonesia or one of those islands out there?
Where? I'm sorry. Where what is? What?
Where the cannibals ate.
New
uncle.
Guinea. In Guinea. Yeah.
They could have Irish stew.
That's apparently what they had. And do you remember the hoopla that existed, that erupted when Donald Trump looked at places like Haiti, right? And he said, we got to stop throwing good money after bad money on these S-hole countries. How everybody went up in arms over that. Oh, he's calling them S-hole countries, isn't it? So here's Biden picks Guinea. It calls their people cannibals. They ate my uncle. And if it wasn't for the Prime Minister of Guinea reacting to that and being insulted this week, nobody would have cared.
Yeah. Well, you can imagine the whole world's laughing at this idiot. He's an idiot.
Yeah.
I called because I know there must be a lot of people out there who are pretty mad and angry and upset what they're doing to President Trump. Taking our democracy away like that. I mean, he should be out there campaigning, and all they're doing is stopping him. It's a political thing.
Yeah.
And these kids who are demonstrating, they're demonstrating for the wrong thing, and I don't agree with it. But they're putting us to shame. We should be out there in the streets taking our democracy away, because that's what they're doing. They sent people like me, drafted for two long years in some country. What at the time, to me, it was Nazi West Germany, because there was a lot of Nazis still there, and protecting them, their democracy. And here, what they're doing now to us, this is a corrupted government, and it's everybody's duty and right to fight a corrupted government.
Yeah, it's your obligation. Absolutely.
It's our obligation.
Yeah.
And you got an FBI and a corrupted Justice Department spying and working against American citizens now. These people don't realize you're losing your democracy. And people call up that served in Vietnam, I hear them. They were used and abused, and they still don't know what's going on when they talk.
Well, people are, I've said this before, and I don't want to be cruel to people, but we don't know sacrifice in this country. Your generation knows sacrifice. To some degree, mine does. My generation, I wasn't among them, but my generation folks did go off to Vietnam. I was right at the age that Vietnam was over. When I turned 18, but my father's generation went to Korea, and we've had the Great Depression, we've had so many different things in this country that people know sacrifice, but today people don't know sacrifice. Everything is too easy. We haven't had a foreign war, a war fought on our homeland here. We went through 9/11, but basically the young people. They don't know. They don't know what sacrifice is, and so they don't pay attention. They don't care. So the groceries a little bit more. We'll pay it. But in terms of understanding democracy and understanding what's at risk here, they don't know what's at risk because they don't know what they have.
Well, the younger generation, sometimes I give up on them. My generation, you got a lot of people out there still don't know what democracy is.
No.
During my time, I'm not saying the people who had a disability they didn't serve, but you have a lot of candy asses that didn't go. They could have went in the service, maybe should have served in another country protecting their border, and now they would know what a border is to protect.
Yeah, no question. Thank you, my friend, as always. I appreciate it. 508-996-0500. You're up next to WBSM. Thanks for hanging on.
Hey, how you doing, Barry?
Good. How are you?
I agree with many things with the previous gentleman. We've become soft. Our schools have become warehouses for idiocy because of, it's not just the younger people we need to blame. We need to blame previous generations, previously, decades before, with the hippie movement, flower power, love not peace, and these same hippies, they used to smoke pot and take LSD, went into the universities and brainwashed others to become teachers, and it's been a snowball effect. Our public schools, all the money we're paying is, our public schools have become warehouses, like I said, for idiocy. And I don't know if you read a story in the Boston Herald, but there's some cities and towns here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that want to ban the sales of tobacco products. We were sold a bill of goods by these politicians. They wanted basically a pot shop in every corner. But now you can't smoke a cigarette and you can't smoke your tobacco pipe. But yet we need to smell this crap of pot everywhere you turn, whether you're going into the drugstore, the supermarket, you're going in the supermarket parking lot, you're smelling this crap. But yeah, now these, I guess Brookline wants to ban it. But all the yuppies and the feel-gooders, the limo liberals, but yet they want you to smell pot all day long.
Well, they know you vote. The people that are, for legalization, they vote. And it's more about, kissing the butts of potential voters than anything else. And that's what we've come down to.
Yeah, it's where our country is being run by idiots and corrupt politicians lining their pockets. They're in bed with Russia. They're in bed with China, and then they come on TV and tell us the economy's great. It's better than ever, and we're being sold down the river. This country's been sold in pieces by multinational corporations, and it's sad to say some of them are old American companies that have gone overseas and basically sold our technology and everything else and sold our future away. And now, with Donald Trump in and out of court, it looks very bleak for here in the United States, but it's not over. I think like Benjamin Franklin, that sun engraving on the wooden chair in Independence Hall. We have to look, is it a rising sun or a setting sun? If we lay down and let these corrupt politicians run our country into the ground, then it is a setting sun. But if we all stand together and put these bums out in the street, it is a rising sun.
There you go. Thank you, my friend. I'm going to hold you right there. We've got looking at some live coverage out of Texas right now, the University of Texas, Austin, and there's a small contingent of pro-Israel demonstrators waving the Israeli flag and praying, marching on campus. And there is also a huge contingent of police, appeared to be armed with some sort of riot gear, being followed by police on horseback that are now moving onto the campus. And I'm not quite sure whether there has been something that is that has provoked this, or whether the police are just moving in a position to get ready to react to something. But we'll keep you posted as things develop. So we're live right now in Austin, Texas, keeping an eye on what's happening for you there, and I'll pass on information as I get it. Let me grab a real quick break. We'll come back after this. Stay. Welcome back. It is 1:49 now on a Wednesday afternoon. 508-996-0500 is our number. Let's get back to your calls. Appreciate you hanging on, and you are next in WBSM. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. This is my follow-up call from yesterday. Did you happen to reach Ken Pittman regarding the Brockton issue?
No, I sent him a text message, and I haven't heard back from him yet, so I suspect he's either on banned business or private eye business, but he will get back to me. I know he will, just as quickly as he can, and I'm going to see if I can get him on we'll talk about it more with him when I can get him on. But I'm on it, though. It's going to take me I thought I would have heard back from him yesterday afternoon, but I didn't, so...
I figured I'd give a call because the only other issue I have is I noticed yesterday about the signs along Route 6 near the high school about the town administrator about not resupporting your contract or something like that. I was just, that's the only new thing I've got. So the rest of it's all your show. So there you go.
All right, hang in here. As soon as I get a hold of Pittman, I'll get him right on the air with me, and we'll find out what's going on out in Brockton. I told him what I was looking for, so that way he can kind of dig around and find out some information for us.
All right, well, you have a great one.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. 508-996-0500 is the number. You're next in WBSM. Thanks for hanging on. Hello, are you there? 508-996-0500. You're next in WBSM. Good afternoon.
Hey, Barry. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
You said this was are we getting soft? Are people getting soft? Are kids getting soft? And we are, and it's all by design. What's gone on in the last 10 years. Because if you've noticed in the last 10 years, you've seen the 3 F's been removed from society. The first one's faith. You've taken faith out of the family, out of the home, out of the church, and the community, like the schools, for example. You know, there's no prayer in schools anymore. I get that. The national anthem, people don't sing the national anthem anymore. The second F is family itself. Look what's happened in the last 10 years. You've got the nuclear family is slowly being destroyed in this country. You see less people having kids, less women having kids. You see families. You see more broken families now in America than you've seen 20, 30 years, specifically in the black community. And you see the cultural destruction that's caused in the black community. And the third biggest, I think, I call it functionality. I go back to it again. You're seeing less people have goals to create. There's no more, I'm going to get married, have kids, I'm going to raise children, I'm going to, I'm going to be a good citizen. It's all been blown up. And what you've seen is the decline of Western civilization. And along the way, you're seeing these kids become less softer, not tough enough. You see what's going on with the gender cult that's taking place in this country. We're pushing more just genderless behavior, this mentally ill genderless behavior on kids. And you can see the after effects of this. You can see it on TV.
Oh, I think you're right. You're 1,000%. I agree with everything you just said. Let me go back to the sacrifice thing, though, because when you sacrifice for something, you appreciate the value of it, right? And we have not been, so many of us have not been asked to sacrifice anything because everything comes too easily. You know, if you don't have it, the government gives it to you. Or, you know, or your company gives it to you. Somehow or another, you get what it is that you need. We've never been asked. We're spoiled rotten. We've all got cell phones. We got huge screen TVs. We got cars. We got big long fingernails and all this kind of. We've never been asked to go without. So we don't appreciate what we have. As a matter of fact, nobody's even teaching us anymore what we had and how we got it. So how do we know to protect and defend what we have if we don't know what we have or how we got it?
Yeah, it's been tough. The technology has kind of handicapped a lot of us. It's dulled our senses. And it's kind of dulled our senses, and it's dulled our ability to adapt and toughen up. I mean, it's a lot easier having a cell phone now than actually have to go out and do something. I'll give you an example. You have to get up every day, you go to the supermarket and buy food for the week. Now you just basically call somebody up, you go online, and it gets handed to you. So everything has changed in the last 20 years, and it really has made people lazy. And it's not just this; it's other. I can give you other examples where laziness has kicked in on certain things. It's like you don't have to go somewhere to do something. There's not so much an effort now because it can be done for you on a computer screen or on a phone screen. And the same thing applies to schools. Like more kids, you don't see that as often in schools with young kids anymore because, like I said, the phone's kind of become the overlord of the child. I don't have to go to a library and look it up, read a book and look it up. I can just type it on Google and the answer's sitting there right there for me. So, yeah, technology has had a lot to do with it.
There are so many layers to this onion. I mean, we lack self-respect. We don't respect anything in our society. We certainly don't respect authority. We don't respect ourselves. We go to the supermarket in our pajamas and slippers now. Yeah. We don't care about our appearance or what we look like, and you know what I mean? I mean, there just is nothing that we respect, and that's another aspect of it. We do not respect. There was a time when we were taught that what we have here is exceptional, and that we need to defend it at all costs or we're going to lose it. And if you lose it, remember Ronald Reagan talked about how there's no other place where, freedom exists like it does here anywhere. If we lose it here, it's gone forever and you can't get it back. But people are not taught that. And it's by design that they're not taught that. And we're being conquered from without. We're being conquered from within. People are dizzy on their cell phones all day and being fed messages that are anti-American messages. And every last bit of respect that we have for our system and for this exceptional nation is being whittled away, and we're allowing it to happen. And again, if you don't know what you have no idea how to defend it or why you should defend it. Thank you, my friend. I got to get the last break in, and we'll come right back after this. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back to the program. As we told you earlier today, the anti-Israel protests would be spreading to other college campuses today across the country, and they are doing just that. And we're seeing it play out. And, this is getting to a point where Joe Biden needs to go on television now and address the nation. And, somebody mentioned the other day, well, hey, look, this is kind of like Vietnam protests, and America was divided, and, there was a lot of stuff that happened with protests there and everything else. But it's a little bit different in that with the Vietnam protests, people were angry with the U.S. government. We were angry with our own government for policy that we thought was bad, and we protested our government. This is a situation whereby we have people in the streets, and we don't know who's driving this, and they're calling for the death and destruction of another country.